Hello you guys, it's me Himaru or Himana. Lately, I've been rewatching the WINX Club series in hopes to get some inspiration for my OCs. And while I have gotten some, I've also gotten the idea to create my version of what I think the next generation of WINX would look like. But before I get ahead of myself, for those who don't know what WINX is, WINX Club was created by Italian artist Eugenio Straffi, who is also behind Studio Rainbow, which produced the WINX series. WINX Club came out in 2004, and what was originally supposed to last 3 seasons ended up lasting 8 seasons with 2 spin-offs, a live-action series, and most recently, a reboot. The story follows a group of fairies known as the WINX. The group consists of Bloom, Stella, Musa, Tecna, Flora, and Aisha or Layla. Throughout the story, we follow the WINX on their adventures as students of Alfea, a college for fairies, as they fight against evil foes and most notably the Tricks, who are a trio of evil witches. And despite all the girls being main characters, Bloom is the one the story focuses on the most as she tries to find out who her biological parents are, and most importantly, who she really is. Now that I got that out of the way, let's get started with these next generation designs. Starting off with Bloom and Sky's daughter, Iris. In my small recap of the show, I didn't mention, but Sky, along with the other guys I'll mention later on, are students attending the Red Fountain School for Specialists. In the series, Bloom and Sky hit it off quite quickly, just like most couples in the series. And despite some conflicts, they always solve it in the end. I don't have much to say about them since they're not my favorite couple. However, they're definitely not my least favorite couple. That spot is reserved for someone else. So let's start talking about Iris. She is kind, shy, and she's very popular among her peers in Alfea. Being Bloom's daughter brought her a lot of attention, which she loved at first. However, as she got older, a lot of her classmates and even adults would set high expectations on her, especially when it came to her powers. Just like her mother, others expected Iris to hold a great power just as strong or even stronger than the dragon's flame, which is the magic Bloom uses. This caused Iris to feel extremely overwhelmed and overall just pressure to be the best fairy out there. She doesn't want to let her friends down or her parents. Which is why when she first attends Alfea and sees that a certain someone else is stealing the spotlight, she secretly holds a grudge against her and tries to outshine her as much as she can. She knows it's not right to feel this way towards someone who hasn't done anything wrong, but she tries justifying it by saying that it's okay to feel this way, since this student is the daughter of one of the most evil witches. But before I get ahead of myself, for Iris's design, I wanted to combine both Bloom and Sky's hair color into an ombre effect that blends into a pink color. However, as much as I liked that idea, I feel like she kinda looks like a fusion instead of their daughter. But that's okay. As for her clothes, I went for something casual, kinda like what Bloom had when she first appeared. And here's Iris in her fairy form. I decided she would be the fairy of the stars. Since stars are essentially giant balls of hot gas, I thought it would make sense if this was her magic. Then again, I don't think her magic has to be the same as Bloom's. As long as it's a bit similar, I think it's okay. I try to keep her fairy form as well as the other girls quite simple since it's only her first transformation. Now on to the next one, which is Icy's daughter, Noelle. So yes, I decided that I wanted to have one of the Trix's children be a part of the main group. Also, if you're wondering who Noelle's dad is, I'm wondering the same thing, but we can ignore that for now. Anyways, as I was creating her, I decided to make her the protagonist and make Iris more of a second lead. I felt like it would be too obvious to make Iris the main character, so I decided to switch it up. Also, I know what you guys might be thinking. Noelle is a witch, so why is she attending Alfea instead of Cloud Tower, which is a school for witches? Allow me to explain. Noelle, despite being Icy's daughter, doesn't actually want to follow the path her mother took. You could say she's like Myrta in a way. Despite being a witch, she didn't feel like she fit in with the rest of the witches, which is why she was allowed to stay in Alfea. Noelle's the same way. Even though she looks cold on the outside, she's just reserved. She wants to have friends, but she's afraid they'll never fully trust her since she's a witch. And that's why she's trying to work as hard as she can to fully understand her magic in order to help others and gain their trust. Since she has the same magic her mother uses and shares similar features, I think that because of those traits, other fairies in Alfea would judge her and wouldn't fully trust her. But if anything, I'd like to think that that's motivation for Noelle to work even harder, in order to not let her mom's wrongdoings depict who she is, and for others to see that her ice magic can be used for good. Now, Noelle's relationship with Iris is good for the most part. There's definitely some tension between them, but despite that, Noelle would actually like to be friends with Iris. But not necessarily for the best reasons. She knows Iris doesn't like her, and just to spite her, she purposely tries to befriend her since she knows that she's a people pleaser, and if Noelle befriends her, she thinks she'll have a better shot at gaining others' trust since Iris is so popular. Rather than friends, they're more like frenemies. But throughout the story, I'd like to think that they would eventually become besties once they overcome their problems. For her design, since she's Icy's daughter with an unknown father, I obviously went for a look that mostly resembles Icy. I wanted her to have long hair and the same hair color. And something that I realized while rewatching the show is that the Tricks all have unique hair strands. So I wanted Noelle to have the same thing. And since none of them had straight strands, I gave it to Noelle. Her outfit is pretty simple and comfy with just a few accessories. I decided to give her another outfit when she transforms, even though the Tricks don't necessarily have transformations, since for the most part they are in the same outfit. However, they are sometimes shown with everyday outfits as well, so I consider the ones they usually use as their transformation outfits, which is why Noelle's witch form is inspired by both the Tricks and the WINX. And last but not least, we have, hear me out, Musa and Riven's son, Miles. I know this ship is definitely a bit controversial, but hear me out. I'm also not a huge fan of their relationship. I hated how toxic they were, especially Riven. I don't know how Musa fell in love with him. He treated her so poorly, was extremely jealous, and his only personality was centered around him being a lone wolf. Riven was literally such a hater for no reason, I swear. I feel like Musa never did anything wrong except get mad at him. But then again, I'm only in the beginning of season 3, so I can't confirm if she does anything bad later on. I know Riven also showed some redeeming qualities, but I feel like either way, he would go back to being mean. So in my opinion, they're an okay couple. I feel like the right decision was definitely to have them break up, which the show did do in season 6. However, in season 8, they do get back together. If I remember correctly, when they get back together, Riven says that the only thing they have in common is arguing. And you know what? I will roll with that. I think in my story, they would stay together up until a certain point. So I think they would end up splitting up again when Miles is young. As much as I thought the couple was cute when I was young, I don't think they would work well together. But that's just my opinion. Anyways, Miles is someone who keeps to himself, he loves music just like his mom, and is a specialist at Red Fountain just like his dad. At first, I was thinking of making him a fairy, but I wasn't sure if there were any male fairies, so I stuck with him being a specialist. But since his mom is a fairy, I thought it would be a cool idea for him to still be able to use magic despite him not being a fairy. His magic would have to do with wind, since I feel like both wind and music go well together. I'm not sure if him using magic fits the WINX lore, but oh well. Miles' personality is definitely someone calm, quiet, kind of like the mother figure of the group, and he is definitely the voice of reason. He has both his parents' hair color and has more of an alternative style. I don't really have much to say about his design, so I'll leave it at that. Those are the characters I have so far, but don't worry, I'll definitely make another part with the rest of the characters. Also, if I make another part, I'd definitely like to think more thoroughly about the magic and the character relationships. I hope you guys like these designs so far, and let me know if you guys have any suggestions for these characters or for future characters. Also, for those who don't know, I did create another channel focused on storytime videos, so if you'd like to check it out, it'll be in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and other than that, until next time.